What was the pettiest reason you refused to date someone? She was a volunteer at the zoo, and when kids asked her questions she didn't know the answer to, she would make something up and lie. Growing up on zoo books and Steve Irwin, I take animal facts very seriously. Went on a first date to the movies. This ducking guy, instead of picking up his drink and lifting the straw to his mouth, he would put his hands on his knees, keeping his eyes on the screen, and lean over to the drink and hunt for the straw with his face and his mouth contorted sideways trying to land on the straw. Weirdest shit ever. My new car kept scraping on the bottom while pulling out of their steep driveway to the main road. After the fourth time of trying to be careful and it still scraped. A very attractive, fun, smart woman asked me if I wanted to go get ice cream with her. I turned her down, but I guess in a way that she felt was flirty, so she kept asking, and finally I had to tell her I was turning her down because she had both my mother's first and last name. She laughed a lot and agreed we couldn't date. She was super hot, but she smelled. I don't know if she didn't shower or use deodorant, but she just smelled funky. I couldn't do it. My best girlfriend at the time was like, just tell her. How do you tell a girl you've known for a few weeks that she smells bad? So I just stopped talking to her. Brilliant. Weird enough is that sometimes people just smell like that without necessarily have a medical condition, so good call. People who smell spent a bunch of time trying to find a way to stop smelling bad to just have the answer that is their natural odor. She didn't know that foxes were real animals. She thought they were mythical and just in movies. She had the same name as my mom. I went out with someone who has the same name as my cat. I brought him back to my house and the second I got home I greeted my cat and the guy looked at me and I knew right then and there that I couldn't do this. Her complete inability to follow the plot of a movie. Who's that? Where'd he come from? Why'd she do that? Who is he again? I just couldn't. Especially when they're on their phone for all the setup. Or confusion is clearly a dramatic device. Bullet whizzes from off screen striking someone in the chest. Wait, who did that? I don't know, guess we'll have to keep watching and find out. He would call me his beautiful angle. He really didn't know how to spell angel, so for 5 months I put up with being an angle. Also dated a guy who wanted to put a singular white trailer on his parents' front lawn and thought I was unreasonable for not wanting to move in with him once he did so. A guy on a dating app said he wouldn't date me because I didn't like oysters. Well then don't use the oyster app for dating. Edit, this is my highest rated comment ever by far. Thanks and thanks for the awards. She would insist on a job interview level of formality whenever we talked. Edit. For those asking for examples, the first time I asked her to my place went like this. Me, so do you want to take this back to my place? Her, is this an invitation for intercourse? Me, yes, it is. Her, please ask again properly please. After sex. Thanks for having me today. He wore a Bluetooth piece in his ear. The constant blue light blinking from the side of his head was too much for me. Another guy would text damn instead of damn. It wasn't a typo either. It was every time. I wonder if he was on a call the whole time so someone could help him with the date, laughing my butt off. He was wearing a hideous brown fake leather jacket. It was so old that the leather had started to flake off and parts were just now canvas. He kept stopping to look at himself in windows and saying, oh god, I look so hot today, I just can't believe how hot I look, smoothing down his manky jacket. Side-eyeing me, expecting me to agree with him. I left so he could be alone with his jacket. She called someone a pompous. Nope. She didn't say he was acting pompous or that he was a pompous ass. He was a pompous. I was the receiver of the petty reason, not the giver. When I was in college, a girl wouldn't go on a second date with me because my dorm room was too clean. Edit, to add, what I got told by a mutual friend was that because my room was clean, it had to mean that I was gay, so she wouldn't date me. Everything was going great. Thought she was an amazing girl and we'd been seeing each other for 2 months. Go to her house for the first time and it was a little messy, but nothing to write home about. Then I go to the bathroom and put up the toilet seat. I don't think she'd ever cleaned the bottom of the toilet seat given how disgusting it was. From then on, the only thing I could think about when talking or being with her was that disgusting toilet seat. I was friends with a guy who I was never going to date. Like, ever. We were just friends and I hardly ever went to his place cause our friend group always hung out at mine or out somewhere. So I went to pick him up to hang out, and I had to piss real bad. I asked if I could use his toilet, but he said it's really gross. No one cleans it. I didn't care. I just had to piss. So I said I'm going to either use your toilet or piss in your garden. He looked at me, looked back at his house, looked at me, and said I'll hold out my jacket so no one sees you in the garden. Every time I touched her, I would smell of egg. Like holding hands, egg, hugged her. My shirt would smell of egg. Strangest bit was, she didn't smell like that whatsoever. Also, when I broke it off, the egg smelling stopped. So I don't know. There are perfumes that are incompatible. When they mix it stinks real bad like eggs. My buddy had that problem with his body wash and his laundry detergent. We had to do an intervention. It was probably just your laundry products. Can also happen with certain scents and body chemistries. My GF tried a new lotion the other day that smelled great on its own, but made her smell terrible. She had to shower it off and then gifted the rest of the bottle to a friend. She once wanted a burger without chips. I wanted one with chips. She ate all of my chips. Her reason was that because I wasn't eating my chips because I didn't want them. I asked her if I didn't want then why did I order them? This ain't petty. It would duck me senseless mentally to be with someone who cannot put her ducking demands in a clear manner and ask for chips. Not me, but someone I worked with refused to date this very handsome, successful and kind man because he has too many things in his pockets. I mean, how much we talking here? This might not be that weird if the guy is walking around with a tape measure, keys to his motorcycle in the winter, some old cassette tape, a bouncy ball, glass eye, pair of tweezers, several different kinds of candy, a collapsible selfie stick and a map of a state he's not even living in. That's a no from me. She lived across the bridge, and I hate going across the bridge. Edit. Didn't expect this to blow up. It's the Bay Bridge in the SF area. I live in Oakland. For me to date a girl in the city it'll take me an hour. To get there an hour home. All of this, after working all day. Just not something I'd want to do, unless I was super into someone. Hotch ironically I'd never know since. The bridge. To be honest it wouldn't have been fair to her either. Side note, more than a decade later I'm married to a girl from the other side of the bridge, so you could say I got over it. Had the same first name as my brother and father. I once dated someone with my name. It was very confusing every time someone talked to one of us, calling our name. What started as a fun joke ended in yeah, never going to do that again. They did that thing where they inflect their voice upwards at the end of everything they say, as if it were a question. After about 10 minutes talking to them, I was completely done. I just read your comment in that exact way and it honestly terrifies me. His laugh. It was the weirdest sounding laugh I've ever heard. The first time I heard it, I was like nope. Can't deal with that for the rest of my life. Edit. Since many of you want to know what it sounded like, here's my best description. It's like he was trying to inhale and laugh at the same time. Very breathy, like gasping except worse. He tried to say what I was saying, as in at the same time. He started mouthing it and then slowly including more and more voice. I would stop talking and start again. He mimicked the whole time. I had to explain everything to a girl. Everything. I still don't know if she was exceptional stupid or tried to keep the conversation going and was just really bad at it. Do you remember the guy who acted like he didn't know what a potato was? Texting with her was exactly like that. The first girl I ever really dated, and I went on a walk through a wooded area. We saw a herd of deer in a field. She gasped, hid next to me, and asked me what they were. I was sort of taken aback by this, because I knew she was an experienced camper who totally knew what a deer was. I really liked her though, so I just kind of rolled with it, explained what deer were, and laughed it off. She doubled down. "How do you know so much about them?" she asked me, fully sincere. At this point, I just didn't really know what to say. I don't remember what we did after this, but I think this went on for a little bit. I got told by another girl after that relationship ended that she was playing dumb for me or something. Somehow it was supposed to be a flirty thing, guys like dumb girls. I don't know if this is true for other guys, but I definitely don't think anyone likes someone that dumb. I have no idea why anyone would ever do this. He was awful in a trivia game we were playing. I mean, really bad. Like it was his first day pretending to be a human on Earth and the aliens hadn't briefed him sufficiently. Do you remember any of the questions he got wrong? Her nostrils were ducking tiny. WTF. This is the first one I've seen that's worthy of a scene-filled episode. Elaine, how are things going with that girl? Jerry, oh, Jenna. Yeah, that's over. Her nostrils were too small. How did she even breathe through those things? He wouldn't stop calling me endearments like love and sweetheart. This was via WhatsApp before we had met in person. And even after I told him I didn't like it and to please stop, did not get to first date. There was a guy I liked and we were flirting a lot, and then he asked my roommate out on a date. They went out and she said he spent the whole time asking about me. So we asked his friend about it, and apparently he had what he thought was a brilliant plan to go out with my roommate so I would become jealous and want to go out with him. Except I had been more than willing to date him if he had asked me instead of my roommate. He called me a week after the date with my roommate trying to spin some story about how going out with her showed him how much he liked me and asked if I wanted to go out. I told him I don't go on dates with guys who have dated my friends. I just didn't want to keep driving to that part of town because of traffic. Edit, thank you for the awards, but please stop wasting your money, it's not worth it, lol. This is LA dating in a nutshell. She's perfect but she lives in Burbank. After our first date he called me and asked me what I was up to. I replied cleaning my house. He says, "Oh, you like cleaning? I have a house cleaner who comes every other day, but if we got married we could get rid of her and just have you clean. Sometimes they make it easy for you to decide if there should be a date too." I was on a first date. Told him I love to cook, and you'd told me his mom would teach me how to do his fab dishes just the way he likes. He wasn't kidding. Took me the same day after dinner to his place to meet his mom. I was mortified. He got a few consecutive bites out of my ice cream on our first date without asking me, and before I even tasted my own ice cream, and didn't even offer his to me. Not a petty reason at all. That's totally legit in my opinion. I got put on a blind date because I'm a redhead and this guy knew this absolute babe who had a this for gingers. Half an hour into this date she just flat out tells me I'm not ginger enough. Turns out she was attracted to pasty white freckled curly haired gingers, not whatever the duck I am. At least she was honest. Bloody brilliant. My most liked anything is about not being ginger enough XD. About 3 weeks in, I cooked dinner. It was the first time we had eaten dinner quietly at home as a date. His chewing noises drove me up the wall. I noped out after that. Edit, I can't believe how much this blew up. Thanks for the awards. For those of you with misophonia, I feel for you. Trust me, this particular dude was merely gross. Every time I took a bite of food he asked me a question, after which he stared at me while I finished chewing. The date went on like this for an hour. He had a supernatural sense of poor timing. Edit for spelling. And holy shit, snacks waking up to this one blowing up. First time poster. Cheers for all the votes and awards. Love reading all the replies. My grandma kept doing that to my mom at a holiday dinner. Mom takes bite. Grandma asks question, but she didn't want to wait for an answer and would go, well, if the answer didn't come fast enough. My mom finally snapped. My mother taught me not to talk with my mouth full. How about yours? Which was extra funny because she was talking to her mother. His tattoos. He had this god-awful Medusa looking thing on his right calf. I went on a hike with him and had to stare at that ducking tattoo for 2 solid hours. I ended it when we got off the mountain. His name was Mario and he was a plumber. I just couldn't I feel a bit bad about this now. We met on a night out and had a date at the cinema. He talked through Legally Blonde, but otherwise he was attractive, polite and friendly, and I liked him. After the film we got a drink to chat a bit more and get to know each other, and so what do you do naturally came up. I didn't believe him at first and may have laughed. I was young and pretty stupid to be honest. I'm sorry Mario. I had a woman I was flirting with tell me she couldn't date me because I hadn't gotten that first marriage out of the way. I wasn't sure I understood her correctly, but she explained, because I was never married, she didn't want to be my first divorce. Seemed cynical, but I also felt I dodged a bad situation right up front. Wow, this blew up. My first Reddit comment that started a chain reaction. Thank you for the medals, and so interesting to read all the comments. Someone I know once attended a wedding where the unenthusiastic mother of one of the couple was greeting guests with welcome to name start a marriage. She was right though. It didn't last. I told him I was watching Scrubs, and he told me very proudly he was just like Dr. Cox. I thought if anyone thinks describing themselves as Dr. Cox is a good thing, they must be a dick, so what's the point? I dumped my first boyfriend for holding my hand, taking it way too far. I was 15. Obviously the concept of teenage pregnancy completely mystified me. Edited to add I knew how pregnancy occurs. I was trying to make a joke that, since holding hands was too much for me, having sex as a teenager would be unfathomable. He wore a horrible pink shirt with palm leaves on it. It looked like woven vomit. Would have been okay with that, but he thought it's the shit. Because it was a designer shirt, he bought it second hand. He thought I'd be falling in love because it's a designer shirt and he can afford it. The attitude and his ego made me wave goodbye after 5 minutes of the date. We didn't even leave the train station. I'm 5'6". I went on a date with a guy whose dating profile said he was 5'10". I was taller than him, without heels, which he pointed out to me. He went on a rant about how I must have lied about my height on my dating profile, because he was definitely 5'10". So I couldn't be 5'6" and be taller than him. I've got news for you, dude.